So good afternoon and welcome back to the class on smart materials and structures. So I hope in the beginning we were dealing with what topic. Can anyone let me know? It was related to
Posted.
louder.
Posted.
Yeah, it was related to the post-yield flow of either the MR or ER fluid we were discussing. And we derived the equations for shear distribution, the post-yield distribution, the pressure drop, all those aspects, and we dealt with the derivation of the equation for shear strain as well, and also what is called like resultant force also we determined with respect to the area of the plate what we are using, and also with respect to the viscosity aspects. I told you that the two parameters will come into picture. So the until here we were almost done related to the post yield flow. So this is almost like 80 to 85% done with the derivation. Only the small part associated is with to know the mechanical performance of either ER fluid or MR fluid. So related to that, only very few part was left what we were supposed to discuss. So the same researcher here, the Coulter, in 1993, in his same paper, he also showed some significance related to the control ratio. So this control ratio plays a very vital role in ensuring or knowing what is the effect of the ER fluid what you are using. Means ER fluid effectiveness must be more to see that you get a high viscous fluid. So how will you evaluate? You have to evaluate the performance of a ER fluid by mechanical performance. So what is the equation which helps you to derive what is the control ratio of the given ER fluid, through which how you can conclude that what is the effectiveness of the ER fluid, right? So this was basically done by using the mechanical performance for a given system. So related to that, it is very keen in understanding that you should be knowing exactly what is the protocol related to the control ratio. So herein related to the fixed plate device, you know that we dealt with two devices. One is a fixed plate device which had the top and bottom plate fixed, and in between we had the fluid. It could be either ER or MR fluid. And similarly, the second option where we were dealing was one was a moving plate at the top, another one was the fixed plate at the bottom. Here we are focusing on the first case, which is of the fixed plate device. So in case of fixed plate device, the control ratio can be keenly told as it helps in identifying the pressure drop when the field is on to the pressure drop and zero field condition. So what is the amount of pressure which gets dropped when it is exactly at the zero field condition? Like you will be having the two fixed plate, you will be having a fluid film. Due to storing of the fluid film clamped between two plates, obviously there will be some pressure within the fluid, and due to that pressure there will be some shear stress which get induced. So the amount of pressure drop which takes place at the condition where the field is not applied at all is termed to be as our control ratio. So in that case, you will be having the minimum amount of the ER fluid requirement. Okay, so that could be found out by this equation. So here that equation is given here as V suffix F, where F denotes the fixed electron configuration which is associated in the ER fluid when there is no field applied. You know that for ER fluid, we'll apply the electrical voltage. So based on that, all the particles gets attracted because each particle will be having a negative ion and a positive charge. So it gets attracted and the fibrils or the structures are formed. So at zero field condition, what is the minimum amount of the electric field which has been needed to get the required aspect of it will be given by this equation. So the minimum amount which has been needed for the critical ratio, the control ratio, will be given by the equation over here, in which the F denotes the fixed electron configuration. Okay, and related to that, this is the minimum amount of electric field needed. Accordingly, the power required to maintain the electric field throughout the given film is given based on what is the amount of yield stress induced. I told you already, if you apply a very small amount of electric field, and if you have a length of fluid film of around 10 mm or so, if the applied field is less, then only a part of the fluid film will be electrified. And as a result, the viscousness will be around specifically for 2 mm, yeah, 3 mm. But if you need the what we say the ER effect throughout the fluid, then you should apply an equal amount of electric field to it so that the ER effect is induced in the film by enhancing the viscosity. So at that case, the yield stress also will be there, right? So you need to identify what is the power which is being needed to maintain the required electrical field in the given film of the ER or MR fluid, right? So that the amount of yield stress which is essential to enhance the viscous of the given fluid could be delivered. So for that, this is the equation what we have to use in. You don't have the derivation part. You have to just show the equation which is being needed to get the requirement of the power as well as the uh, this one, the ER fluid requirement for our critical ER control ratio. So first one we have dealt about. So this is the minimum the power requirement to get the required electrical field to retain the ER effect by inducing the required yield stress. So it is given by this equation. So here the J which is written here is a new term to you. So J is nothing but the current density. It provides what is the density of the current which has been induced into the fibrils or the structures which is there in our ER fluid. Okay, so this density you will usually evaluate with respect to the area, like the current that you are passing with respect to the unit electrode area. Electrodes are nothing but you will be having the top plate and the bottom plate which acts as an electrode, because the fluid will be an dielectric material in which you will be having the activators which are of semiconductor or conductive material. So when you apply the electric field through the electrodes at the top and the bottom, then the required amount of electric field will be passed on. So what is the amount of current what you are supplying for the unit area of the electrode at the top and bottom will be nothing but the current density. And here E is also a new term. So here E will be nothing but the electrical field strength. So remaining thing you know, this is the viscosity, this is a shear stress along the y direction. So this is the volumetric flow rate what we determine, and this is the pressure drop across the electric field, means the pressure drop induced in the fluid in the direction of the electric field. And again the ratio of the pressure drop across the electric field applied and the pressure drop along the I field application. Okay, so this all parameters we have dealt around already in our previous equations. So here only we dealt about P naught and PER also, right? So only the new term now what we are discussing is related to E and J. So E is nothing but the electric field strength and J is nothing but the current density. So finally, we are ended up with a post-yield flow. Only thing, the last thing what you have to know is, we told that this we are taking care with respect to two cases. In one, the plates are fixed, and in the second thing, this plates are sliding. One plate at the top will be sliding and the bottom plate will be fixed. So due to this, the shear, the required one will be achieved. So the same sort of calculation is done even for sliding electrode geometry. So this is the second case. I can show you the diagram through which we discussed already from the morning, right? So this is the second case in which the plate top will be sliding and the bottom will be fixed. So the same thing what we analyzed now for the fixed condition was analyzed for the sliding plate condition. Okay, so that is being concluded also over here. So the same sort of calculation was done for sliding electrode geometry, for which the control ratio is defined in a little bit different way. The control ratio defined for the fixed plate we have dealt already, and now the control ratio for the moving plate is defined a little bit in different way. So here, I'm sorry, the control ratio is defined as the ratio of the resultant force with the field on to that of, okay, where you have the minimum amount of fluid volume. So what do you understand by this? The control ratio in the previous case was different. So there we calculated the parameters with respect to the pressure drop across the zero field condition. So here it is not like zero field condition. Here we are taking the ratio with respect to the resultant force which is coming across the plate. Okay, so that resultant force we dealt in the previous class. You can see here the resultant force across the plate only related to the shear stress, and also we had a resultant force equation as I'm showing here, which had two parameters, one related to the viscousness of it, another one is related to the shear stress along the y direction. So similarly, for the moving plates which is sliding against each other, the control ratio was evaluated not with zero field condition but with the ratio of the resultant force which exerted on the moving plate with the direction of the field in which the electric field was applied. That electric field, how it was applied? It was applied to a minimum fluid volume. Okay, in case of what we say, the previous one, right, so where the two plates were fixed, we determined the control ratio with respect to the zero field condition. So where the pressure, where, and we checked whether the required pressure drop is obtained or not. And there we didn't spoke about anything about the area of the film through which the field is applied, either the mechanical or the electric field. But here in case of sliding plates, we are not focusing about the zero field condition. It is the minimum amount of electrical field needed to supply for the small amount of fluid volume. So in that case, what is the resultant force we are getting across a cross section of the given plate? So this is the concept what you have to keep in mind. In case of moving plate, you will take the ratio of the resultant force across the plate to that of the field in which it has been applied to a minimum fluid volume. In that case, this is the equation what we have to deal up with for the control ratio. Okay, so here F denoted the fixed electrode configuration, whereas here S will denote for the sliding electrode configuration because the plate will be sliding against each other. So top will be sliding and the bottom will be fixed. So the layers of the fluid across the top will be having more shear stress and the layers of the fluid across the bottom will be having the least shear stress. Okay, so that will be equal to mu. So mu will be nothing but the viscousness of the fluid divided by the shear stress along the y direction. Okay, so this is a resultant force along the direction of ER, and again you'll take the ratio of the resultant force along the direction of ER to that of the net resultant force across the plate where you have a net drop of pressure. So this is the equation one has to follow if you're going with the second condition where you have a sliding moment. So if you want to determine the critical ratio or the control ratio for the fixed device of the ER or MR fluid, then this is the equation what we have to follow. So this is about our post-yield flow analysis for ER and MR fluid, right? And also after that, how the control ratio aspects varies for fixed device as well as a sliding device. And finally, you have one more parameter what you have to know in. So this is about what we say in generally we can tell what is the amount of power consumed, okay, to get the required effort in the required effect in the given ER या MR fluid. So that you have to find out. For that, we have to focus on zero field viscosity and I field induced yield stress. So what is the yield stress which has been induced at zero field viscosity? Okay, so that is a condition one has to evaluate to see the advantage of the ER and MR fluid. So accordingly, some research people have checked into this and they have told that it is always better to minimize the quantity of the viscousness with respect to the shear stress along y direction, because many role in the design equations what are figured out could be comparatively compared with respect to ER and MR fluids. So we have told in many ways ER is better than MR, but sometimes in some other equations it has been proven that MR fluids are better than ER. Only the drawback of MR fluid is it is difficult to supply the magnetic field in a continuous way in a larger value, but that is very easy in case of ER fluid. So apart from the giving the input in the form of electric or magnetic field, the other protocols, the process, the procedure, and the enhancement what we get in MR fluid case is comparatively better. So in order to get this good aspects of ER and MR fluid, always we have to think about minimizing the quantity of this ratio. So nothing but shear stress to the viscousness. So viscousness mainly depends upon what is the input you are giving. So you will increase the electric field or the magnetic field to get the required viscousness. So once the viscousness is there, whether the plate is fixed or moving, you will see. So if it is fixed, due to the pressure induced in the fluid, the stress will be generated, the shear stress. Or else if it is sliding, then the shear stress will be generated due to the one fixed and the moving slide. In both the case, these two parameters plays a vital role. Okay, so if these two parameters are controlled enough, then with the minimum amount of power consumption, the required higher rate of either MR or ER effect could be obtained. So these are the concepts what you have to keep in mind related to post-yield flow for an ER or MR device. And it also depends upon the geometry. Geometry is nothing but whether it is a fixed device or sliding device. So this is totally about the post-yield flow, what we have dealt from since the morning, and now we have come to an end. Any doubt related to this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I will just proceed further. So this has completed all the mathematical models. Hopefully we have dealt around 3 mathematical model equations for our ER and MR fluid. So one is the Brigham plastic model, the pre-yield flow and the post-yield flow. So apart from that, under the section of mechanism, right, so we had a small topic related to summary of material properties. So that we are going to discuss now. Okay, so when it comes to material properties, it is again a digging up to the database of the entire material science to see what are its properties, right from its physical, chemical, and functional properties. So all these come around to the material properties. Right, so each and every material if you procure now also it will come up with its own material properties and classification. So based on those material properties you will select the material. Similarly in case of ER and MR fluids also this holds good in the same way. Right, so even though many testing procedures are there for ER and MR fluids and many definitions related to the classical properties of ER and MR fluids are there, it is not standardized so much as in case of other classification of materials. So basically material we classify into metal, non-metals, and again ceramics, polymers, and hybrids, right, many smart materials, all those stuffs. See, these all have its own section of database related to its properties. But ER and MR, even though it was originated from very long ago and research is going on and now many applications are also coming up, it don't have a standardized property information related to ER and MR because many work related to device aspect has not come out. Now only one by one it has been coming out into the device level. So that has to be still substantiated, and some more literature has to be done based on its either functional or physical properties or structural properties, so that one will be very strong enough to select which type of material isn't needed. Okay, so based on that, you if you just browse out, you can get many journals related to wherein people have analyzed about these ER and MR fluids. And some people have presented also some of the approximate values and the capabilities associated with the generic ER or MR fluid, but still we need to have a standardized one. And also you should know that both ER and MR fluids have similar zero field viscosities. Like we dealt with zero field effect now also in the pre-yield flow. So either you're using MR fluid or ER fluid. Both have similar kind of zero field viscosities, and it is of the order either 0.1 and from 0.1 to 1 Pascal. Okay, but when it comes to the yield stress, it varies differently. So they differ indifferently with respect to the maximum yield stress they can support. Even though the zero field viscosity aspects maps for both ER and MR fluid, the capability with respect to the yield stress, the maximum yield stress values for both the cases are totally different. So it totally shows a different value which is not in of matching. So basically you have to check up which is the fluid you are in need, whether it is ER or MR fluid. Okay, this is why, because I'll tell you now, the typical maximum value of the shear stress, what you can achieve in case of ER fluid is only within the range of 2 to 5 kilopascal. Okay, but wherein when it comes to the MR fluid, it can yield you more than like from 50 to 100 kilopascal. You can see now what is the difference. ER fluid can provide a very single digit value related to the yield stress, which is only 2 to 5, wherein MR fluids can provide you a very stronger yield stress values of the range 50 to 100 kilopascal. Due to this only, people tell MR fluids are still more better than ER, even though magnetic field application in a continuous way is a difficult task. If that input has been resolved, then MR fluid is the better option than that of ER. For that also some other more enhancement in the synthesizing part has to be taken care. And one more difference between these two ER and MR fluid is their densities. So the densities in case of ER fluid is in between 1 to 2 grams per centimeter cube only, and even that is almost of the same range in case of MR fluid. So it is between 3 to 4. There is no much difference between the density aspects, and no much difference with respect to the zero field viscosity. Only the difference comes into picture with respect to its shear stress values. Okay, so this is the main difference which makes feasible enough for MR than that of ER, even though the other properties of it are almost similar. So hence one has to be very keen enough in knowing what are the material properties of both the type of smart fluid, and then you have to play with it to identify which is more feasible for you as an application. Mainly these are used in application like dampers and clutches that will come into the end of today's class. Okay, so based on the yield stress only you can figure out what is your requirement. Right, so this is about the material property stuffs of our ER and MR fluid, and still where standardization is needed, I told you what are the reason. Okay, so how good it is with respect to material properties also we discussed separately for ER and MR fluid. So related to this prerequisite data concept, one of the researcher by name Duclos in 1998 has suggested some parameters for ER. So he has worked out experimentally and figured out some values for an ER fluid. Okay, so he told that the maximum shear stress around Y direction was yielded to a value of 2 kilopascal. and the viscousness of that fluid was around 100. Okay, so then again the amount of electric field which could be applied, so it is a 4 kilovolt per mm, right? So these are the data what he relieved to us. Okay, and lastly, yeah, the current density what he figured out was zero point 0.1 microamperes per centimeter square. So this was the maximum or the better value what he yielded for ER fluid. But comparatively, if you check the data for MR fluid, it will be still higher. Why? Because the shear stress value itself will be in the range of 50 to 100 kilopascal. Even though the other parameters might be same, the shear stress will be higher. So due to that, the pre-yield stress and the post-yield stress also will be better, so that the amount of electric field or the magnetic field flowing into the entire film will be higher, and due to that what happens, the structure or the fibrils will be formed uniformly with a uniform gap, and hence the viscousness will be high, and as a result the ER and as a result the MR effect also will be higher. But in case of ER fluid, the ER effect will be little bit lower due to the least value of the shear stress. So this thing you have to understand. So one more slide related to the material properties after knowing the exact values of ER fluid is, and people made many designs related to ER devices and MR devices. So here they saw that in many designs, it was very much desirable to compare the potential performance of ER and MR, because ER and MR fluid both will be having the same design. Only the difference comes in like which is a fluid you are selecting, either ER fluid or MR fluid. So many people who designed this type of smart devices wanted to compare exactly what is the potential performance between these two fluids. So some amount of simulation and analysis part are also been taken care to see how good it works in both the cases. Even though the data here substantiate that MR fluid is better than ER fluid, they just wanted to compare experimentally and see whether the material properties which has been disclosed by the researchers is mapping with that of the experimental one. And hence many designs were made and they compared the potential performance of both the ER and MR fluids. And they tested at the zero field viscosity. Okay, we have discussed for the zero field viscosity and what will be the zero field viscosity value also. So for zero field viscosity value will be the same, which is 0.1 to 1 Pascal, either for both ER or MR fluid. So they check the performance at the zero field viscosity only, because you should be having a common platform on which you can compare the both. If you have different viscosities and then you compare, it's of no use. You cannot tell which is better and which is not. So in order to compare, you should be having a common platform. And here these researchers took the common platform as zero field viscosity. So in that condition, they checked the designs which could be more feasible for either ER or MR fluid. Okay. And after those, it was seen that ER fluids were more sensitive to contaminants. So when it operates, you know that it is a fluid media. So when the fluid flows due to subjection of electric field with respect to the atmosphere, open atmosphere, or with respect to the particles which are within the fluid for active members, so that can result in the formation of contaminants. Suppose ER fluid is an dielectric material in which you'll be having the particles in between. So these particles will help in enhancing the conductivity. So adding these particles within the fluid as an additive to make ER effect actively, so these particles can also add on some contaminants to it, right? So ER fluids are more bound to be contaminant easily, and they told that even adding water also can result in the form of contaminants, but wherein that was not the case in case of MR fluids. So they were not much affected by these contaminants, because we used a fluid in which only the iron particles of nano or micron size were added, right? So these were neatly reinforced in between the fluid media to make the fibrils, and hence the contaminants were comparatively lesser in case of MR fluid. So this thing is mostly due to the effect of water on electrochemical mechanism. When we say a fluid, even though what type of fluid, some amount of water will be there in the fluid. So it again depends upon the viscousness what you have developed in the fluid. So some fluid might be having low viscous, some fluid might be having high viscous. It depends upon what is the electric field you are subjecting. So if it has a low viscous, then the amount of dilution will be more in that fluid. Means to say that some percentage of water will be there in it. So this helps in resulting in the formation of the contaminants. So this amount of water which is present in the ER fluid will result in the contaminant part, and as a result this will affect the polarization of the particles and the fibril formation. You know that we use the particles only for fibril formation, and the particles what we use are conductive material. So when you apply the electric field, the particles get polarized, and once it is polarized, the positive negative charge, the positive negative charge pile up one above the other, and it forms the fibril, and each fibril will be also kept with a different gapping space, and each gapping space will be the same. But at that case, if you have some content of water in it, it will harm the polarization effect of the particle, and hence the formation of the fibril might not come to an proper formation. So these are the effects which causes if you have some about of some content of water in electrochemical mechanism what we follow in case of ER fluid. And hence we can say that ER fluid are more sensitive to contaminants. And it can also cause problems in manufacturing when we focus for some applications either for clutches or dampers. So always you should see that the fluid what you use should be free of contaminants. If it is with contaminants, then it affects the polarization, the fibril formation, and also it affects the manufacturing process, right? So always it should be very keen enough in performing properly with least amount of contaminants. In that aspect, MR fluids are having much more tolerance to most amount of impurities. This was concluded by a researcher called Carlson in 1996. So first they analyzed the ER fluid and then they did on with MR fluid because it was told that both has to be compared on a common platform. So the common platform was zero field viscosity. So when they compared with each and every aspect, they concluded that ER fluid consists of some contaminants, wherein in case of MR fluid, it is free from the impurities, right? And it was proved in the year 1996. So all these ideas which came forward due to comparison, everything has been included in the material properties. So all these comes under the summary of the material properties of either the ER or MR fluid. So wherein if you get a question related to the material properties of ER and MR fluid, you should start from the beginning and then you have to tell what are the ranges of the values with respect to density or with respect to zero field viscosity, what is the value of the yield stress in comparison to both, what was the need to compare both with respect to the same platform with a zero field viscosity, and at the comparison what the results you got in the comparison which fluid was termed to be as more better than that of the other. So all these things you should be able to justify. So now we are almost towards the end. We have studied shape memory alloys. We then came for ER and MR fluid. We dealt with each and every aspect of it, applications, drawbacks, advantages, everything. Then we came for mechanism and mathematical modeling of this ER and MR fluid, and we associated with the pre-yield, post-yield, everything. So now we are focusing upon the material properties and we substantiated it why it is needed. So once the entire package of your shape memory alloys, including ER and MR fluid, is done, we should then focus on what is the application in which this ER and MR fluid is given. Do you remember I had shared a case study for you people to write an assignment on ER damper or MR damper? Which was it basically?
MR.
Yeah, MR damper. So that is also one of the application. So for this time internals, you will be using the same case study, what you have studied already and written the assignment. So that will be the case study what you will be having for the test, right? So why I pointed out that is, now we are coming to the application part. So main application of ER and MR fluid is basically related to the clutches and dampers. So that we are now focusing on, because the last part of your module deals with the applications related to clutches and dampers. So if we complete this, then it is done. So with this background, now let us start with the applications for clutches. So I hope everyone have operated the clutches. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the main application? Why do we use clutches?
To disengage power.
To?
Disengage.
Yeah, to disengage the power, we need the clutches. So it depends on which type of clutches is being used in the automobile, right? So even ER and MR fluid is one of the way to use the clutches as per the requirement. So here we can say that a natural application of controllable yield stress either for ER or MR fluid is being used in the clutches, because ER and MR fluid as a nature of controlling the yield stress, right? Because this is very much essential to disengage the power. So this nature of ER and MR fluid, where it has hands-on in controlling the yield stress. So only we studied about the post-yield and the pre-yield, and when the yield stress will be the maximum. So this nature of the yield stress, which enhances and reduces based on the viscousness of the fluid, plays a vital role to be used in clutches. Okay, so this will be used to transfer the required torque between the rotating components. Okay, so normally like when you want to change the torque or transfer the torque from one to the other, we need some mechanical components. So these mechanical components basically will be rigid. It cannot be like an semi-rigid or viscous type of component. So this holds good totally, but only thing you have to think about, what is the effectiveness you get in ER clutches or MR fluid clutches. So now, mainly before selecting, you should see that what is the fluid ability to withstand the shear deformation without suffering any damage. Okay, so what is the capability of the fluid to withstand the deformation due to shear? It should deform due to shear because you have shear stresses with respect to yield shear stress also. But this deformation should not affect any way with respect to the damage. So that shows the effectiveness or the ability of the fluid to withstand the shear which has been induced in it, either due to the subjection of the electric field or the magnetic field. So it mainly depends upon the response time it's been needed to show the performance of the deformation without damage, and how it could be smoothly controlled while coupling between the input and the output shafts. Okay, so this is the basic thing what one has to keep in mind. How strong the fluid what you're selecting is capable to withstand the shear deformation when it is either subjected to the electric field or to the magnetic field. So even though it deforms, how smoothly it can move enough with respect to the input and the output shafts. So based on that, some clutch designs were being developed for both the ER and MR fluids. Okay, so here you can just see a diagram. So it is in two common ER or MR fluid clutch configuration. So we have basically two type of configurations here. So it is not like one is restricted for ER and other one is restricted for MR. Both could be used, any configuration as per the requirement. Only thing is this is a concentric cylinder type, right? So here you have a common channel through which the ER or MR fluid could be passed in, whereas it is a multi-plate type of configuration in which you will be having n number of U-turns for the flow of the fluid, and the fluid here could be either the ER or the MR fluid, and this is the shaft through which it has been rotating. Okay, so these are the two available type of configurations. One is the cylindrical type where you have the concentric nature in traveling, whereas the other one is the multi-plate type. So these are the two configurations which are available for clutch design by using ER and MR fluid. So these designs were being put forward by some researchers after their actual experimentation, and they suggested that these two designs are more feasible for the clutches when using ER and MR fluid. So now we have to see what happens in concentric cylinder design. So here it was observed that the concentric cylinder design was simpler than that of the multi-plate version. So here both mechanically and the electrical field which was being applied was being simpler type. But when it comes to the multi-plate design, you need multiple disc design. So that needs more area of cross section and more torque capability with respect to the given volume. So it changes the volume through which the fluid is moving, what is the amount of field which has been required. So everything gets changed. But whereas in case of concentric design cylinder, it is very simple. So the amount of electric field required, yeah, magnetic field required can be calculated very easily, and as per that the input could be given. But when it has to move up and down here, so it depends upon the rate which the fluid is flowing basically. And if you have one fixed plate and one moving plate, and again it depends what is the amount of electric field that has to be induced so that the fluid will move with required viscousness in it. And then again here it drops down, there will be a pressure drop. So in that condition, will the applied electric field will be required enough to move the fluid from top to the bottom. You know, any fluid can be made to flow easily in the horizontal direction or from bottom to top, right? Sorry, from top to bottom. But if it has to move from bottom to top where the pressure drop is there, you need some extra input of pressure or the electric field or the magnetic field which makes the fluid to move up. Moving the fluid from top to bottom is easy, but moving the fluid from bottom to top is risky. At that time, you need again more input requirement. It could be either electric field or magnetic field. So there will be variation in the input which is been needed. But whereas in case of concentric, an equal amount of electric field or the magnetic field which is applied will be able to develop the ER or MR effect. What is that effect? It should create the fibrils or the structures with equal amount of gap, then only the effect will be active. So when the effect will be active, the viscousness of it will get enhanced. Since it is moving here up and down, the amount of input needed also gets varied, and it will be difficult to create the fibrils of uniform structure with uniform gap. So this is a drawback of multi-plate type if you use for clutches. So that was identified by some researchers already. And there were one more person by Coulter. So he reviewed some of the published works on clutches, right? And he summarized that the effect of electrical and viscous heating of the fluid will make a major change in designing the clutches. So he told that the effect of electrical and viscous heating of the fluid. Electrical effect is needed to make the structure or the fibril. But what about the viscous heating? So if you enhance the electricity, if you increase the amount of electrical power you are subjecting, the viscousness increases. So as you apply more electrical energy, more and more and more, the viscousness increases and increases, due to which the temperature of the fluid also enhances, right? So these factors will directly affect the nature of the clutch and its performance. So this was summarized by the person Coulter. And one more concept which was being developed is the ER clutch was being designed in order to check how it performs in an elderly person. Okay, so it was checked like if an elderly person might fall, right, by using an aid such as an walker. So at that time, how the support could be given for that kind of elderly person. So if they use ER type of clutches, so that might support the elderly person, right, to do the work without falling. So this was some kind of ergonomic nature paper in which what they have concluded. I could not get the clear picture of it, in which a year and all they identified, but it was just thrown on related to ER clutches which could be used for elderly person. Okay, so that could help them to walk like using the aid of an walker or so, but no numerical data was being received. But in 1996, Carlson examined that many commercial applications has started up about the MR clutches. And also the brake units were designed for some exercising equipments like stationary bicycles. So these were mainly by using MR clutches, and they told that the invention related to this MR clutches was started in the year 1996. And also in one of the high-speed traversing mechanism, they saw that belt carrying load was coupled to one of the two constant speed, such as counter rotating motors. Okay, in this also they told that it could be checked for ER and fluid applications. It was just in a statement, not in a research paper. And these were all the things what one were speaking about the ER and fluid, ER and MR fluid, where it could be applied for some particular applications. So in depth was described by a person, Johnson, in 1998. So all this happened before 1998. Finally, in 1998, he just concluded how best a ER or MR fluid could be used for the clutch applications. So here what he configured was the amount of load to be moved over a stroke was about 250 mm. Okay, and the steady state belt velocity was supposed to be 5 meter per second and with a turnaround of 10 milliseconds. So the clutches what they are using, so where they were able to, the load is in that clutches, the amount of load to be moved per stroke was around 250 mm. Okay, so the belt velocity what they were using was 5 meter per second and the turnaround time of 10 milliseconds. So this was the condition on which Mr. Johnson worked. And later he did the simulation. He didn't do the actual prototype or working model. He just simulated using he simulated by developing the models, because the models were already available, such as Bingham's plastic model, the pre-yield stress equation, as well as the post-yield stress equation. So using these mathematical model equations, he just framed out the models and he simulated. Okay, so he simulated and also he checked with the some experimental data, because the simulation data has to map with that of the experimental data. So then he grabbed some experimental data, right, and it was compared with respect to the practical experience, how the breakdown comes into picture if you have used either an aluminium clutch or a stainless steel clutches, because these clutches were available and he wanted to test the results for experimental data. So what he did is he just took the experimental data from direct aluminium clutches and stainless steel clutches, and you had simulated the results for the clutch made up of ER or MR fluid. So he just wanted to compare with this, which is better and what are the things which has to be changed. So in that way, what was his name? Johnson researched and compared about the theoretical and the experimental data. So later, Rabino in 1948, he told that the possibility of using controllable fluid clutches to transfer power from one automobile engine to the other was raised for the first time by this person. So again here they are using a fluid clutch in the sense ER or MR fluid, because it has controlling aspect in it, so it can control the amount of shear stress. So and hence this type of fluid clutch was being used in automobile engines to check how the power could be transferred from one driving train to that of the driven train. So this was first identified in a very long years before in 1948, and this was from the person Rabino. And at present, right, you have many ER fluids that cannot support the shear stress of the magnitude, which is roughly around 14 kilopascal. Because the shear stress range of ER fluids we studied, it was in single digit, right? When comparison, it was around 2 to 5. If I am it was around 2 to 5 kilopascal. Since the ER fluid capability for the shear stress is only 2 to 5 kilopascal, it was not able to match with the automotive clutch requirement of 14 kilopascal. Because if you want to focus for automotive clutch application, at least minimum you should have 14 kilopascal. So that is not capable enough in using the ER fluid. So in that sense also you can tell that ER fluid is MR fluid clutches are comparatively better than that of ER fluid. Only the reason is the yield stress value is higher in case of MR fluid. It is in the range of 50 to 100 kilopascal. So that will match with respect to the automotive requirement, which is of only 14 kilopascal. So MR fluid could be easily used for automotive applications for the clutches, whereas using ER fluid for the clutch application will be difficult due to the low value of the yield shear stress values. So by looking into the requirement of the clutch only, you can come to know which is a fluid more feasible. So that you can decide only if you are thorough about the mechanical properties of ER and MR fluid. If you are not thorough with that, then again it will be a problematic issue. So this was been identified very long year before by 1948, and at present this is a requirement. Since ER fluid is not capable enough, these are not used in automotive clutches. So that you have to tell. Apart from that, the other complications that can arise in this application is unacceptable levels of zero field. So I told that in zero field level, both were compared, ER and MR fluid, right? So the other reason is the complications arise in case of ER fluid at zero field viscousness. Okay, so that is due to again a drag in the pressure drop, and also the dissipating amount, also the amount of heat energy dissipated. Okay, so that also varies. So these are the complications which can come into picture if you are using an ER fluid clutch. Okay, so these issues which come across in ER fluid clutches were again raised by Rabino only. So he was a person who identified all the complications associated with ER, and he was the first person to identify that the clutches could be used in automobile engines, right? And he also showed that ER fluids cannot be used for automotive clutches due to the reason it cannot possess a high shear stress value of 14 kilopascal. So this is how we have to justify what are the configurations of the clutch, what is the requirement of the shear stress, and why ER fluid cannot be used, and so how it will be benefited for the MR fluid, why it will be benefited for the MR fluid. All those justifications you have to tell, and you should also not forget to mention that all these complications were determined, identified by Rabino in very long back in the years 1940s. So these are the configurations of the clutches what you have to inform. So this is about the application of the clutches for ER and MR fluid. So in that you should be able to substantiate what are the properties of MR fluid and ER fluid, how MR fluid will be better in comparison to the ER fluid. So all those things you have to tell. You should not tell by your own. You should support that by the research people who have researched on it until now. Okay, so these are the things what you have to understand, and you should explain as an application of clutches for ER and MR fluid. It should speak about the application part. It should speak about the nature of ER and MR fluid. It should speak about the researchers who have supported the documents on ER and MR fluid for the clutch application. And finally, you should conclude which is better for the clutch application. So this is how you have to justify if one has asked you to explain either ER or MR fluid as an application towards clutches. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last part is dampers. So dampers case study you have studied already. I think you might be having some insight to it also. So let me just brief out quickly. I'll take 5 more minutes. So you see that as ER and MR fluid had a greater potential for clutches, this also have a greater potential towards the other applications such as dampers. Okay, so variable damper is a very good example for semi-active devices. So why? Because the force generated here mainly depends upon the relative motion of the damper. So in damper, basically you'll have a piston cylinder arrangement. You know how a piston cylinder arrangement is and how it operates, right? So the amount of force generated, it depends upon how the relative motion you have with respect to the piston and the cylinder. So in piston and cylinder arrangement, basically you know that a large amount of forces could be developed when you give an input with respect to some control media. And when you provide an input with respect to the required force, required electric, magnetic field, it will produce the desired yield stress. And this desired yield stress, which is the fluid yield stress, will be maximum for MR fluid, and it will be little bit lesser than that of the MR fluid for ER fluid case. So this concept you know already. So now using this concept, you should compare for our dampers. So basically now what happened is, so many people use this dampers for aerospace applications also, and but still, even though it had application in aerospace, so greater interest was given for ER and MR damper in the field of civil engineering community. Why? They use this to study actively the amount of vibrations which can come across in buildings or the bridges or any other massive structures which is huge amount, because in each building or bridges n number of what we say the either the cupboard, the table, or many kind of loading things will be there. So it will withstand that amount of loading condition in it. So due to those, some amount of minute vibrations also comes in. If some shake happens like earthquake, not a major earthquake, a slight movement also will result in amount of vibrations. So all those have to be evaluated, right? So if you use ER or MR dampers, in case of bridges, buildings, you will really able to identify the vibrational effect in bridges and buildings. You know, bridges every day, n number of trucks, buses, and all other vehicles move in. So what is the amount of vibrations which is coming across the bridges? So that also could be evaluated if you use this type of dampers. And what is the plus point in ER and MR fluid dampers is, these dampers basically use very little electrical power. So that is feasible to operate from the batteries if the main electrical power supply fails. It is not necessary that if you use electrical dampers, always you have to relay for the main electrical power, because the main electrical power could be fluctuating and there could be drop in the power. But if you use this within batteries, you don't need a large consumption of electrical power because it uses a very small amount of electrical power. That is a plus point of the ER fluid. Even though the yield stress is lesser, the plus point is it requires a very minimum amount of electrical power to provide the activeness in that fluid film. And hence dampers plays a vital role And it is not necessary that you should go with the fixed plate only or the sliding plate configuration. Dampers you can go for construction either with the fixed plate or the sliding plate configuration. So this is what you have to understand. Okay. So you can use a fixed plate valve if you want to restrict the flow or the fluid, okay, in a dampering position. Whereas in case of piston cylinder arrangement, what you will be doing is the walls will be used, the piston and cylinder will form the walls of the gap, because you know the configuration, you'll be having a top plate, a bottom plate, and in between the gap you will be having the fluid film. Similarly, in an damper, the piston and the cylinder will form the walls of the gap. So walls of the gap means the top and the bottom. So the piston will play the role of a sliding plate. So the piston what you have could be considered as a sliding plate which will move. Okay. So by this, what is the advantage you get is the volume of the damper will be constant throughout. You won't be having any change in the volume, right? And as a result, due to this, the volume of the damper remains the same. And along with this, the accumulator is used to allow for the displacement of the fluid by the piston rod. So along with this, you'll be having an accumulator which will be used to develop the displacement, because the displacement you need to get right in case of what we say the ER or MR fluid device structures. We'll be having a moving plate and then fixed plate, or both the fixed plates. In both the case, you'll be having the fluid here. So in the fluid, when you apply the electric field, it should develop the fibrils and it should be assigned in between the gaps. So if you use an accumulator, it helps to get the required displacement between the fibrils, which is there within the fluid. So this could be done by using the piston rod. Okay. So one more application why we use accumulator is it also helps in introducing some amount of stiffness which has been needed. So if you get some amount of stiffness, so that will be easy to do the model and check the calculation and its performance. So this is the basic thing, what you have to understand, how to design a damper. It could be done for both moving plates as well as the fixed one. So the people have done it and they have checked it experimentally also. So this is about an MR damper, so which was been done in the year 1997. So here they have checked the experimental data. So what is the amount of force which has been induced with respect to the time, right? And with respect to the force, what is the displacement we are getting? And again, what is the amount of velocity which has been developed with respect to the force, which is the resultant force across the plate. Okay, again, the resultant force across the plate depends upon the area of the plate what you are using. So with respect to the force applied, what is the displacement which has been induced? So due to the displacement, the shear stress will be developed, and the shear stress, you will reach an yield point for it, and then you will evaluate the post and the pre-yield stresses. So these are all the comparison data, right? And mainly what is the resultant force we are getting with respect to the time. So it shows that what is the total time through which you are applying the electric field or the magnetic field. So based on that, what is the force generated? So for that time period, how the force is in enhancement. So all these you can check, and this is done already by one of the civil engineer in the year 1997. So then he compared that with that of the Brigham model. We have studied plastic and Brigham model, right, long back ago. So the experimental data once he done, he has compared with that of the mathematical modeling, and both were nearly matching. The continuous line here is of experimental, the continuous line here is of predicted, means the theoretical data, and the dotted line, what you can see here is the experimental one. You can see that the nature of the curve for the experimental as well as the predicted, means the theoretical one, is almost matching. If it matches, then you can see that the Brigham model which has been developed is 100% paka for all the experimental data. So this has satisfied in all the three options. One was force with respect to the time, second was force with respect to the displacement. And here also the dotted line is mapping with the continuous line. That shows that the Brigham model is mapped exactly with the experimental data. And then it was a hysteresis nature, what they evaluated for the velocity value. Even that was almost of the same nature. So that shows that the theoretical and the experimental data are mapping exactly. So basically, other than the ER and MR fluid, there are other small applications wherein it could be used. So ER and fluid could be considered for all the smart structures, but most commonly it is used in clutchers and dampers. Apart from that, it can also be used for various controllable fluids, right, in different structural system. We have studied many smart materials and structures, right? So in different smart structures, different type of smart materials could be used, and even ER and MR fluids are nothing but smart fluids, even that could be used. Since MR fluid as a high yield strain, it could be still exposed for other applications, right, which are not in existence. So that also there is an option. And lastly, viscoelastic response of unyielded controllable fluid is of greater interest nowadays. You know now yielded stress. So what about the unyielded stress, which has viscoelastic response? Yielded stress will have the response for rigid bodies or the semi-rigid bodies. If the bodies on which the stress induced is not as rigid or semi-rigid, obviously it goes for viscoelastic. So the viscoelastic responses which are yielded is already for an unyielded shear stress. So now it is the time to focus on viscoelastic response for unyielded controllable fluid aspects. So that is now today's greater interest, because many research is gone on ER and MR devices. Now also applications are coming out, but least amount of work is done on the unyielded controllable fluid responses. So that is an open gateway now for the researchers to work in. So with this, I will just end up my today's session. Okay. So the case study, what I have shared will be the same for your internals. We have completed this module totally, a huger one again. The first and the second, both of the module were very huge compared to other modules, so that we can go on very easily. So you will be having this entire module for your test, right from the previous module after linear Lynch-Worm mechanism. Okay. So based on the innovative question, I will be discussing you in tomorrow's class, where we have in at 9:30 a.m. Any doubts now?
No.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please tell me.
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay. So can I take the attendance now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, everyone type your name and USN in the chat room. I will call your attendance. Dhanush?
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun?
Yes, ma'am.
Mohan Ambal?
Yes, ma'am.
Sandesh?
Yes, ma'am.
Srinidhi? Okay, yes, written his name. Sukrit? Okay. Shri Arsha?
Yes, ma'am.
Please prepare well. I will share the PPTs shortly in the Google Classroom. Okay. Thank you then. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah. Take care and bye-bye. Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, yeah.